60-point man. Deep two, just inside the three-point arc. Bucket here, but cut the lead to 4. Ahmad, they cut it to 3. Struggled with that 3 last year in Atlanta, but the 3 years prior, he was a 39% three-point shooter. And now a man with
one defense that time.
All right, team, buckle up.
That's what he does.
Paul George.
Before the game, and he liked it on the defensive side. He likes the length for it. The offense sputters. It doesn't sputter for Paul George. That's 12. Over the 50% mark. George creates separation, launches in the mid-range, continues to be on automatic pilot. He looks terrific. He's got 14. So effortless. You see him wearing the number 22. Patrick O'Neal referenced your 22 years going forward after your jersey at Ohio State. He wore it. To the 4-minute mark of the second quarter to get his first basket. Turns the corner, comes up firing. He's feeling good.
That pushed them to the limit where now it's not just the physical, but the mental mistakes come in. And Paul George right there with a beautiful.
Even if the trade is confirmed in the next 10 minutes. George finds the 3-2 for 1, knocks it down. Paul, second quarter. Take a sizable lead here into the fourth. Game tomorrow night. George, step back 3.
James. Now on the switch, George, step back 3 over Reeves. That's good. And the lead is 17 for the Clippers here in the shot clocks. George, pull up 3, buries it. The Clippers within 1.
71, Brooklyn. George picked up by Bridges. The pick, the jumper, it's good. Paul George.
Now is helping on the backside with Terrence man on Gilliard.
George, mid-range, back to
from behind the three-point line. So that's 5 to 10 right there between 2 players. Scouting reports said they're struggling from behind that.
Paul George. George for 3. Got it! 18. Clippers looking to push. They could tie with a 3. George. We are tied!
I get it, but it's bringing out the best in these players.
It's a shot by Paul George.
And talking at the defensive end. Now he's got his hands full against a red-hot PG.
Paul George, money, a 3, and 7. Winning for 2, and he's got 8.
Who's going to win small ball here?
George inside, into Brown. He gets it to go, forcing the... And George. And Caldwell Pope will defend. Shot clock at 5. Paul George.
What a shot.
Game is a career 34% three-point shooter, hitting over half of his triples. Contested jumper for George. It falls nevertheless.
That was a tough one, though, where you have to ball fake, then get set again and let it fly.
9 for his last 16 before that. Paul George, 39.
I like this zone right here, too. You guys can just do a good job of playing an area. That was too easy. Good to try to go underneath the top.
Tice a little ball fake. Paul George finds his spot. Pushes the lead. Paul George. World class. 1 as Tyronn Lue's got his bench getting ready to come in. Paul George.
The other night, now boarded the Spurs by 2. George.
Mid-range games just massive.
George, 8:11 on the clock. Sohan trying to keep him in front, but he is red hot from the outside now. As Paul George, another 3.
The only way he's
losing score.
Paul George.
Timing of this meeting.
It's away.
A nice pass by Harden, extra pass by Mann. George sheds his defender, mid-range en route. Clippers 3 for 5 from the field. Pelicans 5 for 6. Paul George, that's his second miss there due to injury. They're starting to get healthy as Paul George rises for the 3, and the band sings hallelujah. First,
When he
he's able to get you to help. You help off of him, then he makes the assist to a teammate.
Paul George gets it right. Shoot variety. George glances at the shot clock. Takes a tough shot over a decent defender, if not better.
And guess what he does every night?
Yeah.
He's showing up on the defensive end of the floor.
Paul George with the three, got it. Different looks, he's just reading it.
Clay 22, Steph 22, Draymond 13, PG 13.
The push. The shot clock is dark. They're down by 2. George wants it all. The three. Oh, my.
Ton in the second quarter. Neither did Westbrook. Just 7 minutes for Westbrook. George switches it through on the turnaround.
Paul George able to make a play. Spacing was
batted down the pass. Shot clock at 2. George has to hoist it. He does, and he buries a 3. Big shot by Paul George. And the shot clock at 5. George straight away. 3 is good.
what a heads-up play. Paul George has
To beat the Clippers here. 3 minutes gone by in the fourth. George again. 5 threes now for Paul George. 14-point game. George fading. He got it. 20 for Paul.
Good ball movement here by the Clippers, but a great closeout by Sharp. Just 2 to shoot for George from the nail. Here's George. Back-to-back buckets in the mid-range for the Clippers. The Clippers have been much better in moments like this for the past few weeks as George rises in mid-range. That's a getting shot.
At 18, he does much of his three-point damage in the corners coming into tonight. 21 of 35 in the corners, but that one was above the break. Good to see.
And there's the steal. Paul George getting his hands in.
Power play if they hurry. George calls his own number. The 3 is good. A 5-0 strike.
Drops off and picks up the next man. You cannot let them drive all the way clear path to the basket.
Mid-range for George. He puts it in. He's 10.
He has 25 first quarter points. Isaiah has 11. Brown has 9. Here's George for 3 again.
To get that loop jump shot.
TJ had 10 points and 6 assists Saturday night in Minneapolis. Here's a step back 3 again by George. Paul George guarded by Hield. George has another field goal.
And a crack here on Paul George out on the perimeter. Let's see what George does. We got a little push off there. We've seen that shot from Paul George. See what happened, folks? Good things happen. Put it in your pocket. It's a little extra hustle, but Paul George steps into that 3.
So we'll see how long Ty Lue goes with his original game plan defensively, and then you have to make adjustments.
The Clippers do have a couple of equalizers, and Paul George shines his own.
Cut without it, and they get rewarded.
George picked up by White. Good defender. Launches from 15, and Paul George is a pretty good offensive player. PG now pay off his student loan. Not highly recruited out of high school. Wound up playing in Colorado. Here's George. Knocks down.
Celtics waiting for Harden, make him give the ball up, get it out of his hands.
George, early shot clock, mid-range, it goes. Are either three-pointers or at the rim. 82-60. Long 2 for George. It's good. He's in a zone. Unfortunately, George gets a screen from Tice. Given the mid-range, pulls the trigger, knocks it down. Paul George.
Yep. Sending out orders.
George creates space, steps back. Oh, that is such a tough shot.
Going to come down to defensive stops here for the Clippers, no doubt.
Another mid-range for George. It does trickle home for Paul George. He's been very good. Absence of Morant. Paul George gets his first touch, rises in the mid-range, and the shot is good. Jackson, but it goes into the ready hands of Amir Coffey.
Run the lanes, you'll be wide open.
George, a pull-up 3. Oh, it's good! A confident larceny. Here comes George the other way, picking the pocket of Tyler Hero. Rises in the mid-range and knocks it down back there. Never left the game, but was hobbling around for a possession or 2 late in the second quarter. Paul George knocks down the mid-range shot, and PG now has the fancy pass there by Hart. Goes back to George. He's been the cash cow in this third quarter. Spins his way to freedom and knocks it down. Down to Bouquet getting ready to check in here. Here is George at the free throw line, extended pull up, looking for the bounce, and he will get it. Friendly rims for Ty Lue quickly.
gives a screen, gets a wide open look.
Best so far this season. Paul George up against Zion. Good job defensively, but that guy starts have helped out there. Leads early. Paul George.
How do you feel about that?
That is really. Paul George, he's got Larry this time.
He also has a 2-for-1.
Yeah. And he's got another triple. He's just
A long time. This is the guy that Lakers better be concerned about, because in the half court, he makes things happen off the dribble. And in his grill.
Best effective field goal percentage in the league since the beginning of December. Kawhi Leonard. Paul George.
Playing one another. George goes to work on Booker, loses the handle, recovers.
He might have a little beef with me tonight.
I'm here for the team, Christina.
Report on that national championship that happened tonight.
Loose ball picked up by man down. George with 6 to shoot. George trying to create fadeaway 3 is in, and Paul George 14 assists on 17 baskets. Skip pass. George, step back 3 by Paul George is in. George. Identical shooting numbers. Clippers, by the way, season high for made threes in any half this year as Paul George to that consistent number 2 spot behind Gilgeous-Alexander. Will it be Williams? Will it be Holmgren? What a shot by George of 16 from the field. And not known as a defender. James Harden did a great job.
Possessions, his first 2 buckets of the second half. He's got 22. George shakes Reeves. Oh, here he comes.
Fake took the mid-range. Good offense and defense.
Paul George sidestep the 3. Good.
I'm really anxious to watch George play. And sometimes it's the way his schedule is. I bet.
James Harden said, I've done it all. I'm here for one reason. I think everybody knows what that is. Gives it up to Paul George. Westbrook down the lane. Harden, top side to George. George turns, fires, fills it up.
It's Jaden Ivey. He hasn't had the ball a lot, but a few times he has. He's been aggressive, and he's putting pressure right into the chest of the Clippers.
Paul George over Kane.
The luxury the LA Clippers have with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the wing as defenders.
Both in the top 6.
26th in pace. PG from the 3-point line, nothing but net.
Here's George. Working against McCollum. And there's his first
5 rebounds a night. This man should be getting 2 or 3 offensive rebounds a night.
So up around what? Maybe 10 a game? 8 a game? Paul George. Walk 2 straight away. Oh, it's good. And that is a good sign. Back-to-back buckets. Made it halfway there. Harden and the Clippers control. They trail by 2. George, tough shot. Oh, gets a friendly roll. And Paul George really had a nice little stretch here for the Pistons, who lead 52-43. George, 4-3. It's good. George.
Norman Powell can come in off the bench and knock down a few days.
George inside and knocks it down. Christina, thank you very much. James Harden gives to George, attacking down the lane, pops from 10 and knocks it in. His first. Zubats missed 9 games with a calf injury. Kawhi Leonard not playing tonight, just the 5th game that Kawhi Leonard has missed as Paul George connects from mid.
Can grow into being an all-star caliber player if he's not already there.
3rd season for command.
NBA has had a green light once upon a time, so it's really easy to play off of great players like the Thunder had and be able to find your looks within the system.
Paul George just 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting. He can get hot in a hurry.
These guys are professional schools.
Yes, they are. When they lead through 3 quarters. Grizzlies had a league-leading 8 victories when trailing through 3. Paul George makes it a 4-point game.
Done a lot of work here in this first quarter. He leads all Clippers with 7.
I'll tell you what.
Have talent. They're terrible. No, that's not the case. They have talent, but unfortunately, our talent hasn't mixed itself together to win games. But that talent
replay of what we saw in Washington. He had a monster first half. Clippers were able to put the genie in the bottle in quarters 3 and 4.
Behind that, so that's the area too. If you stay focused and concentrated on the defensive end.
George in the mid-range.
Any kind of roll by Rudy Gobert, bringing in the low man to help, and that low man's getting burned.
Paul George with his first shot goes down. 5th turnover for Minnesota. Paul George just gave the Clippers the lead. Paul George, the midi. 3rd field goal of the game. 3 for 11.
Minnesota's defense that's not allowed him to get off in the game.
Combination. Paul George, he's been off for most of this game, and of course
in the game for Minnesota. He's played 30 minutes in this game, so.
Paul George got the bounce.
Here's George from mid-range.
They're going to be able to hit a lot of those. That was.
Here's Paul George. PG pulls up. Here's some of your.
Van Vliet on Leonard. A couple of former teammates, champions with the Raptors in 2019. Paul George, he's really developing and emerging as a very talented, switchable four in this league. George starting to find. Paul George discovering his rhythm a little bit, working off the bounce, a little quick sit dribble, and scores it over Smith.
George. Shows off the handle. Great defense by DeSumo. But George, 1-foot shot goes 4. Almost halfway there. Here's George the other way. Elbow jumper. It's good. Paul George the other way with 5:50 to play in the 3rd. George attacks. We are tied at 6.
Age 22, his star is rising quickly. Anderson guarding Paul George. George buries a step-back three-pointer. Get that series win in 20 years.
A lot of that success will also depend on if and when let's move to PG. Carl Anthony Towns returns from that meniscus.
In that mid-range moves they go to. DeRozan trying to stick with George. Just enough separation for the.
They 5 of the last 6 of the last 7.
Paul George got the long release.
You gotta get that rebound.
He got the offensive board instead for LA. And George cashes in. Boy, George and Leonard. I think a lot of people have said that.
I think he might have stolen it. I heard him say that. Seriously.
Oh man, Paul George. Second half.
The high low's working. The big lineup is working.
Yeah, good adjustment by Donovan. He got the separation he needed. Paul George
willing to live with that shot. You can tell because Zubac didn't even rotate.
Paul George, he's going up over CJ. So
and allowing the defense to kind of run by you and then using that elasticity at the rim.
Paul George, remember the last game. That's tomorrow night. Go to Pelicans.com/tickets. Pelicans.com/tickets. We'll see you here. Mid-range, George. Too good a look. Jose on Paul George. He's going to take the long one and get it. So Paul George is up to 30 pounds.
Herb is hurting.
Yeah. Landed order on his hip, maybe. Paul George is far away. Larry coming out to help. Step back. Paul George looked good out of his hand.
That makes a difference, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah. We were in the desert last game.
You can't go under. You can't go under.
Paul George finding space and finding the mid-range.
So smooth.
George on the advance. Puts Henderson on his hip. George picked up by 8 as they switch out. George leans back and he delivers. Basketball team, the Clippers, same 2 teams. Friday, the world champs. We're here on Saturday night. Off the screen, whirling into a 15-foot jumper. They go on to play who? Is it Florida? to go on to play. Here's George stepping outside. Flicks a three, got it. It is. Oh, I'm getting two mixed signals. Is it Florida or is it Texas? George using the offhand to shed Walker. Following jumper in the paint.
And of course, that doesn't happen as seamlessly as it does if we don't have the leadership in Joe Cronin and Dwayne Hankins, who are behind.
Scoop under the screen, chases George to the elbow.
Gray Jr. has struggled from the three-point line, but he can play. George in the mid-range. Boy, he is...
Like Jim Jackson.
Oh, my goodness. George gets a screen from Zoo, keeps the ball, creates the contact, mid-range en route. It is good.
Defensively, Clips need to lock in a lot more. That's why I was saying get that shooting percentage down.
George from 15, it's good. It ignites to break the other way. Clippers find two. George. For three over Siakam.
But we got lucky by that one. See if we can capitalize right here offensively.
George rises and knocks it down. Speaking you to do, you are positive. I love it. It was good to have you back for one game, Jim.
Wow, throw me under the bus, man. No! Clearing the bench a little bit, and you know, when we said it though, it was going to be on the
passer and facilitator. I think there are some moments where you feel like this Clippers team needs someone to hunt shots and to get them going, and Paul George could be that. Allows them to be in a ball game, and they continue to answer and extend runs.
Paul George finds some room and nails.
Game clock at 10. George drives on Isaac, fading away. The jumper is pure.
Yep. Looking like his non-shooting hand, but it actually is his dominant hand. Westbrook is a left-handed human. If you wanted an autograph from him, he'd sign with his left hand.
Paul George. Paul's dribble, get the more high percentage shot, a throwdown by Nick.
Second dunk for Richards. Oh my goodness, Paul.
Okay, I've done my job. Here you go, Bossa. You do the rest, throw it up the mouth.
Hornets bounce you tonight. 2 dunks for Bridges, 2 dunks for Richards. And no one can stop Paul George right now.
Pulls it back, Reggie Jackson picks him up. And George just going to take one himself. Little fadeaway is good for Paul George.
Love how he created space using that.
Harden gets stuck. George with KCP on him. Big screen by Zubac. Paul George.
And you get like the Clippers, they just don't have the experience that the Clippers do. There's a good shot of Will Hardy. Meanwhile, Paul George creates space and then some, and the Clippers have hit on 15-2. Jazz now trail in the first quarter, find double figures for the 31st time. That leads the league in the NBA. Paul, this team's locked in defensively. They beat anyone in the league. And their defense is ramped back up, and it's here again tonight. Feel a good three and one.
Their first lead, they've trailed by as many as 8. George, the pull-up from 10. It's good. Assists for Cleveland here, and we just started the third quarter. George tries to challenge Mobley. He's got the long reach. Oh, it's a roof scraper. 12 to shoot for George. Okoro on him. George for 3. Oh, my goodness! It's a 5! 5 to shoot for George. Picked up by Allen. 2 to shoot. Going to be a tough one. A 3. Oh, it's... George with Strus lurking in the background. Launches in the mid-range. Oh, it's good! 37 for George. 7 to shoot for George. 3 to shoot. Gets down. Lets it fly for the lead.
Too strong. A little reverse attempt. Norman Powell getting back to challenge. Transition 3 for George. And just like that,
and making him facilitate.
George and Durant draped all over him. A tough contested step back 3. Suns, meanwhile, not feeling good about any shot that they are currently taking. George on a tough pull-up.
Concentration level is not there at the start, and it has just compounded itself. And now it's at a point where anything they throw up is going in. It's like it's a 30-point deficit.
Stretch with Zubac on the floor. And they were so intent on trying to get him the ball each. As
he's here to complete the process.
George working on Allen. Looking, got an extension on that arm.
P.J. Tucker.
And he gets back to Paul George.
It's like watching the final brushstrokes of the Mona Lisa.
See, Paul George did one.
The 8 they had in the second. Here's George, guarded by Washington, and George still able to hit the 3. George, 13 points in this game, just 5 of 15 from the floor. George fading and dropping it in. Some big. George letting clock run. His 3, banks in, why not?
James Harden had 28 points, 8 assists. He went 6 of 11 from three-point territory on Sunday. George, bottom. And that's the front of will it in.
Right.
Doncic is going to take a seat. Irving in. George, fend off. Jumper is pure. Gets it in. Final seconds. George is going to fire it up. Hits at the and
blocked from behind. Harris back out to man. Shot clock at 3. Paul George rattles in a three-pointer. Excellent defense, just better offense from Paul George.
Against everybody else, Luka's been fine.
Paul George, another 3. Puts it in! Paul George.
Luka's taking an absolute physical beating, you're saying?
Yes. He's staying in the game with 3 fouls. Paul George again! 26 first. 7 on the shot clock. George goes in the corner, falling away. Oh!
29 for him. George, 3. Got it. Maybe this George, who regains it right now. And sets up with the shot clock at 9 and a 3.